Alright, today I'm taking a look at the new the TF Design 717, but I ran into a performance issue and I'd like to share a possible solution for that performance issue if anybody has had that issue. This issue isn't specific to the aircraft. The performance problem I'm having is actually related to FMEE, which is the Aerosoft's is it V3.4 Reunion? I think this is Aerosoft's, or maybe it's not Aerosoft's, but yeah, the Reunion scenery or Reunion Airport. I'll go over what I'm experiencing on the performance issues. First, let's go ahead and bring up my settings. As you know, I run fairly extreme settings. 4K resolution, 4x, 496 textures, VSync on, triple buffering unlimited, FXA off, and anisotropic is 16. So, and my other settings, scenery, pretty much all maxed out for the mesh, except for the mesh resolution. Water detail high. Those are the reflections I like. These are all extreme, and special effects high. As far as lighting, right now I have shadow quality set to ultra. And there's the all the distances are maxed out to 80,000 meters or 12,000 meters. I have all these shadow options enabled, and here's the key item. It's the sim objects cast and receive. In this particular case, it's the receive that is causing long frames or lower frame rates, and that translates into stutters. But I'll go ahead and show you what I mean. So here we are at FMEE Reunion, and I got my frame rate counter in the lower left corner here. It's at 30 right now. It's fairly stable. I don't have any weather loaded, but let's just go ahead and move around the airport. As you see, we moved this day. We're doing pretty good. It's 30-30. Everything's fairly smooth. Now let's swing around this other way and keep going. Still looking pretty good at 30. Still at 30. Up. Now we're getting some stutters here, and it's dropping down to 25, 26. More stutters, 23, and stutter. As you can see, I'm at 23 frames a second, 22 frames a second over here. Now, what's causing that? In this particular case, the source of this problem is the sim object receive shadows. Now, if you notice, these are sim objects. These jetways and the building structure here. Well, building structure may not be, but the jetways are sim objects, and those are the shadows that sim objects cast. And as you can see, the shadows look pretty good. Shadows here, and take a notice inside the actual what's this called, the galleyway or runway or plant pathway of the jetway. Is you can see we have a transparency here on the windows. But you can see inside the jetway here, we've got the shadows. Notice shadows. These are all the shadows. Now, these shadows are sim object receive shadows. That means that the sim object here is casting the shadow, and it's also receiving its own shadow. This looks good. It looks accurate. It looks correct. But as you can see, it's having a pretty devastating effect on the frame rate. As low as 19 in some cases, and lots of stutters and jitters here. So it's if you want to resolve this and lose some of the shadow accuracy, you're gonna have to go into options over here, settings, go to your lighting, and uncheck the receive sim object shadows. Uncheck that, hit OK, and there we are. Now frame rate is back up to 30, and as you can see, the shadows inside this galleyway here are no longer there. They're gone. But we still have these shadows here, these major, or I just want to say the main sim object shadows are casting as they should on the ground here, on the ground there. You just don't see the interior shadowing. And if you notice, my frame rate is now 3031, and it's a lot smoother. I mean, still little jitters here and there, but basically it's much better than it was with the sim objects receive shadow set. Alright, so let's go ahead and zip round. Oops, let me turn that menu off. So there we have. It's a quick sort of tip of the day. If you're having problems with stutters, you still notice I'll get a few. If I want to eliminate these completely, I could turn all sim object shadows off. Now we notice we don't have the shadows here from the jetways. We still have the shadows here from this structure, which I assume is flagged as a building structure. But the jetway shadows are no longer there, and these are basically sim objects. Again, our frame rate's at 30, and look at that, much smoother. If you're having any problems with strange stutters at certain positions and view angles and things like that, the first thing to check would be the sim objects cast and receive shadows. If you have a building or an airport that has a lot of complex geometry to it, you know, like this does, all these elements, these cross beams, cast shadows, and it can be quite complicated to calculate those shadows, especially when it looks like there's a layer of transparency here, the window being the transparency. That definitely puts a load on your GPU, and as we can see, can induce lower frame rates and or stutters. You know, the worst case, it went as low as 20 frames, so I lost 33% of my frame rate, or more actually, because usually when I'm locked to 30, that means I'm probably actually doing more than 30 because I have the VSync enabled. So if I were to turn the VSync off, this frame rate would go up. Actually, I'll go ahead and do that right now so you can see what I'm talking about. Alright, so take VSync off, triple buffer off. This is set to unlimited. Hit OK, and my frame rate goes up to about 30 to 40, fluctuating a lot, but that's to be expected when you turn VSync off. So when we turn the sim object shadows on, both cast and receive, and hit OK, you can see my frame rate drops to 22 to around 22. So I went from somewhere between 34 and 40 down to 22. That's almost a 50% drop in frame rate. So it's important to understand that if you have an airport or scenery that has complex sim objects, complex meaning they have a lot of geometry and a lot of possibility to cast shadows, especially in transparency, it's really going to put a lot of stress on your GPU. So what I would recommend is, if you're running into performance problems, first thing to try is turn off sim objects cast and receive shadows. Yes, it doesn't look quite as visually pleasing. I mean, you still have building shadows and other shadows enabled, so it's not too terribly bad, but your frame rate will go up considerably, or should go up considerably, if you do that. I hope this tip helped.